Clark, and I'm sitting here with Bennie Beutler, 2023 Rodeo Historical Society inductee. So thank you, Bennie, for sitting down here with me for a few minutes and sharing something about your rich history of your family and just what you have done yourself, what you've accomplished in the sport of rodeo. It's amazing what you've done philanthropically to help grow the sport, as well as providing fantastic livestock and rodeos to people. So,
well, thank you, Linda.
You bet.
It's been a good ride.
Absolutely, yeah. So, where were you born and when?
I was born in Canadian, Texas. That's where my mom was from, and in 1949, April 24th.
What was your mom's name?
Yenna Hill.
And your dad?
Jiggs Butler.
Yes.
They got married, and then my dad, he is in the rodeo and is married a long time, and then he got killed in 1980. Jiggs tractor run over him there at the ranch and at the headquarters, and Elra was still alive, Lynn was still alive, and they wanted me to stay in the rodeo business and stuff. And I'd been working for Jiggs and stuff that whole time, growing up in it and stuff. And I've debated about it. I was in the oil field at the time, and I was making $1,400 every 2 weeks. And this was in 1979. I was making $1,400 every 2 weeks and getting a $700 allowance fee. And I was a salesman in the oil field and selling jobs and pick up and lay down machines and stuff like that. And I was working in the oil field when my dad got killed. They'd come home from Amarillo, and the tractor wasn't supposed to start, but it started and run over him. And Elra and Lynn wanted me to go back, and we debated about it and stuff. And so when Elra asked me something, me and Elra was always partners. I stayed down at his house when I was growing up. He was flossing more than I did at my mom and dad's. And anyway, so here we are, good or bad.
Yes, but when did the Butlers start? Just a little bit about the background of who Elra is.
Elra was my granddad. They started in 1929. Jake and Lynn was his younger brothers, and they all started, and they was all raised out there. My great granddad, and he made the land run over here at El Reno in 1889. He
what
made
was
the
his
land.
name, Bennie? Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
John Butler.
Okay.
John Butler, and of course Butler is in the Army and stuff. They call me Beutler because we got the E in it. And but anyway, Elra and them, they was always breaking horses, and he would send, Mr. Butler would send them. He'd send Bertie. I had an aunt, Elra's sister, great aunt, and he would send them. He'd go one way. He'd leave out there, Carpenter, where we lived. It's 6 miles northwest or 8 miles northeast of Elk City, and he would send Elra. He would send Elra and Bertie. They would come. He would go the day before, and then he would send them the next day. They'd go to Hammond. This was in trucks and horses, no trucks. They would go to Hammond and Strong City, go to Cheyenne, then make a tour and go pick up that livestock. And they'd ride to Cheyenne or whichever one is farthest way away, and it'd take them 2 days. And then the next week, he'd go south to Mangum and Sayre and that way and pick up the livestock. And he was called him a horse trader and cattle, and that's where Elra and them had the horses, where Elra and Bertie and them and Jake and Lynn come along a little later. But then when they was kids growing up, till Elra had to go to World War I, that's where all the livestock come in. And that's where, and then Elra, he never did quit messing and selling and buying horses after he got home from World War I. And that would have been 20 or 21, because he was in there, I think, 3 years. And anyway, and he, tell you a Wild West story about Elra. They put him in, and El Reno was over there, the mount where they had the, I don't know, they had 25 or 30,000 head of horses. And that's when Elra
25 or 30?
Yeah, it was unreal. And they shipped all those horses. They shipped them horses all over to France, and they was in there. And Elra, he was in that, and they knew he could ride, so he was in all that deal. And General Pershing, which was one,
yes.
he always he didn't like that guy. And his best general, he's one that won the war and stuff. But they killed all those horses, and Elra hated it. They ended up, they fought them, and they brought a few of them back, but not very many. I think they shipped 10,000 horses over there.
Wow.
You know, you'd have to look it up in the history, but
Yes.
Elra, he never, you know, but that's what he done, was a horseman and stuff. And as always, and they started bucking horses and doing this. And Lynn had seen the rodeo at Canadian, Texas, up there. They had a big rodeo up there at Canadian, up there on a big range.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, he went up there, him and Jake went up there to see him, and then they got to bucking some horses and stuff, and people called them from Clinton. They drove them to Clinton, which is about 30 miles. I think they took 12 horses and 3 big old steers. They didn't have bulls back there, they big old, they called them stags. And they had a rodeo that night, and they got paid, I believe it was $300. They thought they'd never see another poor day.
Everyone
And-
that we've interviewed has said that, and I said that is the rodeo phrase of all rodeo phrases.
Mhm.
We'll never see another.
That's true. That's
Win a
what
little
it was.
money or put
And
on.
we did, and there's been a Butler in it ever since.
That
As in
is-
29.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me that the Butler name has been around in the rodeo business since 1929, but in so many different names, so many partnerships, and it's been Butler and Son 3 different times, but it's been different sons with a Butler, and it's just so inspiring that multi-generational family, and y'all have like your son Rhett, and now they have kids, and they'll probably continue on the rodeo business.
Oh, Jake loves it.
Yes.
Jake's a sophomore in high school, and he loves
Yeah.
it. Rhett, he loves it and stuff. And
Yeah.
I said, it's getting harder all the time and everything. He said, yeah, I know it. But he said, we got it, and we got a good foundation.
Yes.
And a lot of the foundation, and like I told him in there a while ago, at our meeting a while ago, and a lot of people don't know it, Ed Gaylord, he is a partner of mine in the late 80s, and we kept the partnership till 2000. And he asked me one day, he said, I got some guys who want me to get in the rodeo business. And he had built the Lazy Inn, having these events up there and everything. And my family and the Gaylords went back, Elra and Mr. Gaylord, Jiggs and Lynn. And then when Oklahoma City was a big rodeo here at the State Fair, Mr. Gaylord and Ed sat right up there when the chutes was on the side. They sat right up there, and that's when I met Ed with his kids. And Jiggs, his name was John A., but everybody called him Jiggs. Well, him and Mr. Gaylord, that's pretty tight. And so to make a long story short, Ed got the rodeo bug and built the Lazy Inn. He said, he looked at me and he said, a lot of people ask me to get in the rodeo business. We was at Woodward, Oklahoma. I never will forget it. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, well, let me know when you're going to do it. And he says, why? I said, I said, if you get in the rodeo business, and I said, I said, you've got a lot of money, and I said, you're a great guy, and I said, I'm fixing to sell out, because I said, I won't compete with you. I said, first rodeo kid will be at Oklahoma State Fair. I said, your dad's the chairman of it. So I said, and we're friends, and I said, I ain't gonna have no animosity towards you. I said, somebody, and do you wanna do it? He said, you know what I told him? I said, no, you didn't tell me that. He said, well, I told him I was gonna get in with you.
Oh.
I said, well, okay, what do you wanna do? He said, well, figure it out. And it went from then on, and we've been friends ever since.
What a great partnership, and I love the story of how it's now Butler and Son, how it went from Butler and Gaylord to Butler and Son. Can you touch on that?
Well, Ed and Natalie, they come out, Rhett was getting married, he was married Tracy, and we was getting married, and they was coming out, and they was late, something happened, I can't remember what it was, they didn't make the wedding, and we was gonna have a big blowout, and they was at the country club, and we was having a big barn party out at the headquarters at the ranch, and so Ed and Natalie come out, and Michael and Paula was there, and so gone, and so it says, can we go eat somewhere? We'd been to, before we go to and they got there just the wedding was over, and he said, can we go eat somewhere? I said, yeah. I said, me and Natalie hadn't had nothing to eat. He said, before we go to the country club. I said, sure we can. So we went to a restaurant. I said, Michael and Paula's with me. And he said, it's fine. And so he said, we want to ask you something, you and Connie. And he said, looked over there, he said, what do you think? And he said, you don't have to. He said, I'm not going to quit you or nothing. He said, what would you think if I gave my half of the rodeo company to Rhett for a wedding present? And I said, well, hell, it's yours. You can do what you want to with it. I said, I don't want you to give it to Donnie Gay or somebody like that. And he said, I shouldn't say that about Donnie. I mean,
No,
but that's what. And he said, no. he said, no, me and Natalie want it, and we want it to be back Butler and Son. Because they had been over there at the Lazy Eve before he got to that, and had been Butler and Son for the first, 6 or 7 years after I lost my dad. And it went on from there. And so, anyway, we had some property that we had, and I paid Ed off his over the years. I mean, it wasn't and Ed still helped me. We still had to rodeo at Lazy Eve. I don't think me and Ed Gettler ever had a cross word.
He's such a nice man.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
is.
and just so philanthropic.
But he gave
and
that,
just,
that was Rhett, and Rhett's been
Yes.
partners in all the bulls the last 20 years that we've had and raised and everything. Rhett does that. I don't even mess with the bulls. He makes me look good, him and Jake. So, and Jake, hell, he's as crazy as over the rodeo business as Rhett is.
Now, how
So,
old is Jake?
He's 16.
Is he really?
16,
Oh,
and Taylor's 19. Taylor's going to school over here, Oklahoma City University. She
Uh-huh.
got a scholarship.
Oh.
And then you got little Blanche coming on. She's Amber's little girl. She's 6. And little Kurz is Katie's little boy.
Yes.
We've been having birthday parties for 2 weeks. So
Oh.
anyway, so it's
That's
like a
great.
3-ring circus.
Yeah. So mention about your family. I guess your wife.
Connie, yeah.
Connie.
She kept us from starving to death, teaching school. She taught school for 30
Really?
years. Yeah, she taught school, and she taught the little guys. She always taught second grade, second grade was usually her third grade. But hell, when we lost my dad and stuff, that's how we brought groceries. I've been trying to go back. When she was teaching school, we always had a little money. So hell, now I've been trying to get her to go back for 20 years. So anyway, she won't do it.
How long have y'all been married?
Oh, hell. 54
Oh, my gosh.
years. Yeah.
That is
Oh, we just
fantastic.
kids. We just kids.
Yeah.
She graduated from college, and then I graduated the next year, and then went to
Yeah.
Army.
And I thought you were a veteran. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service. But
Oh.
as a kid, I remembered I thought
oh,
you'd
yeah.
gone to the
So,
Army. How
yeah.
long were you in the Army?
We was in there we got in the Army, and we went to Fort Polk, and was in reserves. And anyway, we thought they was going to ship us over there. That was, we thought we was going to Vietnam and everything. And then we got in there, and that's when Nixon started bringing everybody back. So we didn't go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so consequently, and me and a friend of mine, we wanted to join up for 2 years. And anyway, and then they wouldn't let us do it. We waited. We wanted to go 2 years active duty, but they wouldn't let us do it because of downsides and everything. So we was in there for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I was at Fort Polk they made drill sergeants out of it. So I was down there for nearly 10 months. So it was but anyway, it didn't hurt me. I wouldn't want to do it again, but you learned a lot of things. And
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So
The
anyway.
structure and
it's
a lot of
it's
things.
unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you had a good work ethic though from the time you were a kid. Like, what was your first role with the rodeo company as a kid, and how old were you?
Elry, I went with Elry. Jiggs would go one way, and I was big old. And hell, I know we went. I think I was in the 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade. And Elry had me flanking, and my big horses jerked me off the front of the chute.
I imagine.
And anyway, and I know one time we was at Phillipsburg, and they fired the guy that was flanking, and Jiggs says, "All right, you fired him. Who you gonna get to flank?" And so Boucher was picking up, and.
That long ago, CR
Oh
Boucher
yeah.
was picking up.
Oh yeah.
my
CR
gosh.
worked for us for 28 years.
Well, I knew he.
Yeah, and he started, I think, 59. But anyway,
Wow.
he and Elry put me up there. He says, "Well, now hang on." Well, them old chutes back then, they was 8 foot tall, and you get up there and you get your toes. They didn't have these walks on them or nothing. You
Yeah.
crawl up there. Hell, you could put buffaloes on them. Well, we had buffaloes in Wild. And, we started with the first event, called it the Wild Ride, and anyway, you'd have they had 8 chutes. No, they had 10 chutes. You'd have 8 horses and 2 bulls, and you'd put all their rigging in. This was at Phillipsburg, Burwell, Nebraska, and they'd get on any way they can, main holt, and them guys would get $10, and they opened all the chutes at once. 10 chutes open at once.
Oh my
They used to, where you might have seen it, they used to do the same thing at McAllister at the old prison rodeo.
I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
no, but
I know
mean,
Sydney,
that's
Iowa
pretty
used to.
but we
yeah.
done that, and that's the way to start the rodeo. So anyway, so
Wow.
I think I was 14. I probably weighed I don't know whether I weighed 100 pounds, 90. And anyway, now he says, get up there, and we had an old horse called Eagle's Nest, and he was a fucking great big. He weighed 1,300. And now he says, hang on. Well, he forgot to tell me he forgot to tell me to let go. And so he jerked me about far as in that door over there. First thing that hit was my nose. And my mom didn't know he was doing this, and she's up there secretary and keep time. And he said, and hell, I was a ball and broke my nose. I didn't flank anymore for a while. But then it started. So anyway, yeah, me and why did you do that? I said, he already told me to. You don't have to do everything he says. I said, yeah, I do. And so anyway, so that's where it all kind of started.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
So it's not just the men that are part of Butler. There's the women's side too. So will you tell us about?
My mom's secretary, and then after she quit rodeo, her and my dad got a divorce, and she got the college job, and she done the Great Plains. It was a Texas region then. She didn't do this region up here, but she was living in Amarillo, and she had all the college rodeos. She done that for 30 years.
Yeah.
My mom did, and Dolly and Vicky, they raised her, and they trick rode, and Vicky, when she hurt her back trick riding at Hinton, she broke her vertebrae in her back, so she had to quit. And she went to secretary and stuff then, and secretary for my dad, and they still, well, hell, they run everything.
Yeah. So
anyway, when it comes to it, they said, well, we need to, I said, when did I tell you what to do? So you're not getting me in that trap. So it's been good.
Well, I was so thrilled to see Vicky got the WPRA Secretary of the Year. So didn't she just the other day? I think didn't she get the WPRA?
You're telling me something I didn't know.
Oh,
She don't ever
yeah.
tell you nothing. She's real quiet, don't say nothing. And if
very
she
precious.
is, and she was, but
Yeah.
anyway. But Connie, that's how I found out. You know, your sister got the WPRA. That's how I really found out. Vicky didn't tell me; she told her. So that's how I found out.
So other than producing rodeos, you have so much to do with rodeo behind the scenes on the administrative side. So tell us about, what have you been, the assistant general manager since '82 of the NFR?
Mm-hmm.
What inspired you to take on such a monumental task?
Sean Davis. Sean Davis was the president of the PRCA. He's still riding broncs. He come to Burwell. And they always had an assistant manager over here for Clem, and he's over here at the finals and stuff. And the guy
So it was still here in Oklahoma City?
It was in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
It was in Oklahoma City in '82. And Sean was always big friends with the Butlers and Jiggs, and hell, he used to come by and stay on out with Jake. He'd land his airplane on the 34 highway out there, and then we'd park it around behind the deal, and he'd stay on out with Jake and stuff. And this is in the '60s, and when Mahan and Dennis Reiners and Sean, they all started the airplane craze. Paul Timble was the first one to start using Old Barrel. But that's another story. And Sean was riding broncs up there, and this was the summer of '82. And anyway, well, the assistant manager, they didn't use him anymore, and Sean, he said, how about you being assistant manager? He said, you're friends with Clem? I said, yeah. And I said, I don't know. He said, no, we just want you over there. He said, if something happens or you back somebody up, you got to be Clem. I said, he said, you got to be his flunky and do everything, which we did. So I said, well, if you think I can handle it. And I called Lynn. Elry was at Burwell that year. That's one of the last years he went. Elry would have been 82 or something like that, 82, and he was up there. And I said, what do you think? He said, I don't know. And him and Lynn, that's ones, but they got to where they'd talk to each other. But and then he says, you better call Lynn, see what he thinks. We called Lynn. He said, yeah, I'll do it. He said, you're going over there and you get along with Clem. So I was a manager, and then when we went to the finals, when they moved it over there to Las Vegas, why, and Lynn, and Jake and Elry, the first time they seen Bennie Beutler, it was in World War II, is 43 or 44, they took a load of horses and bulls to have, they had big events for the people, to get people to come, and they donated to the war effort. And those people, they'd charge them. They had like 15,000 people at the Texas Fairgrounds for a rodeo, but it was all women, because all the soldiers, they was gone military. See, all the rough stock riders, and they had a few guys that was in their 50s that get on, but the women rode broncs, and you're talking about Tad Lucas and all them, you've heard about them. But they went down there, well, when they pulled up the Texas Fairgrounds, this was might have been 44, I don't know. It was in the late, it was before it was a year and a half or two before the war was over. And Bennie Beutler was waiting there on them and said, I've heard about the Butler brothers, I want to meet them. And they was friends from then on.
Oh,
And he
my
was, so
gosh.
anyway, and it's like, you know, when he called me, and he called me one night and he said, how's it look, Benny? And Connie, and we'd been partying and stuff, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. She's beating on me and she says, get up. She said, Mr. Binion's, and we knew Mr. Binion been by this end. I knew him, I didn't, you know, I'd been around him a little bit and stuff. And he said, Benny, how's it look? I said, some people want to move it and some don't, Mr. Binion. I said, I don't know. And he says, well, we're going to give them a lot more money. And he says, if we get it moved, I want you to come out here and work. You got a job. And I says, you think it's going to move? He said, well, we're going to put a lot of money into it, Benny. And that's all I said.
Oh,
and I forgot about it.
yeah.
And I forgot about it. And when
Yeah.
when they moved it the next year, or, you know, that next year, why, here it went. He's the first one that called. He said, now you still got your job here. He said, you still got your job here. I said, now, Mr. Binion, there'll be a lot of people won't like that stuff. He said, I don't care whether they do or not. And that's how it kind of started.
So what's your commitment? Is that like a 12-month commitment? Do you fly to Vegas a lot, or what all do you do at this point in time?
You have your meetings. I make all the meetings.
Mhm.
And my boss, and I work for Las Vegas Events. I don't
Yeah.
work for the PRCA.
Yeah.
I work for Las Vegas Events.
Mhm.
And Alan Reinheimer's my boss. Before it was always Sean Davis,
Mhm.
and then Alan. So anyway, that's what it is. We're in there and make sure the rodeo starts, and you know, there's many things that happen that you gotta have it, and it's gotta click, you know, just like snapping your fingers. And most rodeos don't click like that. We try to do it and stuff, but a lot of these rodeos that you see and everything, and it's just the way they want them. I'm not saying nothing against the rodeo committee.
Right.
A lot of these rodeos last 4 hours and stuff.
Right.
Well, if you do that at Las Vegas, or that's why everybody loves it, they're over, you know,
Right.
they're over at 2 hours, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and you know, you have 15, well, if you go to a rodeo that has 15 contestants each event, you know, if you get it over in 3 hours, you're about 1,000. But
Yeah.
that's what the thing, and then the thing that about makes Las Vegas so great is that you got something to do. We have a base out there that people come out there. They don't go. A lot of the people older and stuff that's been going, they used to want to go every night. Well, now they go 1 or 2 nights and they watch the rest of it on the television and
Yeah.
stuff. And with the Cowboy channel, it's like you're there. So I mean, and that just gives room for more tickets for people that's never seen it. So I mean, and that's the only place I know of. Most of your sports places, you know, it's like the Super Bowl. Well, it's 1 week, it's 1 day. You know, the NBA, it's 7 days, but they spread it out over both cities and everything. I don't know anywhere else, and there's still several thousand people that come to Las Vegas. I don't know how many thousands. A lot of them. They get there on Saturday and they stay till the next Saturday. Now you name me another sport or where anybody, or name me another city, rephrase that, name me another city that people are gonna go stay 10 days.
Yeah.
Cause you go to something different, never see the same thing twice, so I mean.
That is a great point. I never thought about it like that.
But I
And
mean,
what
you
it
know,
has done
but
for
I-
the
you
city
know,
of Las
if
Vegas.
wherever you're going,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not picking on any of these cities, whether
Right.
it's Houston or Kansas City or, you know,
Yeah.
Indiana, wherever, any big
Uh-huh.
city there is,
Yeah.
where are you gonna go stay? I mean, you're gonna, you know, what are you gonna go do
Right.
after the rodeo, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but out there, hell, you don't even have to go to rodeo, there's something to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and that, to me, that's the biggest drawing card for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you've got all those season, hell, they got I don't know, 20,000 people waiting up for their sign-up list, you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
That's
So,
crazy.
and people save their money, Linda, people save their money all year.
Mhm.
That's their vacation.
Oh, yeah.
The people in Montana and Wyoming, we're blessed down here. Hell, we go to Tulsa or
Yeah.
Oklahoma City or whatever, or go to Dallas. You can be to Dallas in 4 hours
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Well, then people up there, it's few and far between. You know, they got some
Yeah.
big cities, but they save their money all year to go down there, and then 80% of those people will have a cousin or a nephew, somebody they know that competes. And that's what
Yeah.
rodeo's about, and they come and support them.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
a big
hate-
old small world rodeo.
It really
isn't
is. It really is.
Overlap and intermarrying.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Oh, no,
So,
that's
people
fascinating.
don't think of that.
Yeah.
They don't think of that.
I mean, it still breaks my heart that it's not in Oklahoma City.
Oh, I'm
but-
not saying nothing bad about Oklahoma City.
Oh, I know.
They couldn't,
They just couldn't accommodate.
They couldn't afford it.
Yeah,
I mean, Las Vegas
absolutely.
put up more money than they did, bottom line.
Yeah, yeah.
And I never said a word, yea or
Mhm.
nay.
Well, you've done a fantastic job, and look at how rodeo's grown.
Okay, well, I didn't do that. I worked for Sean.
I
mean,
know, I
I
know.
was kind of the flunky.
But you put on a good show, Benny. You got a little bit of background in putting on a good show.
Well, you gotta have,
so-
it's like they always said, and my dad, he was always saying something, and Lynn, he was always saying, that's my great uncle, and after I lost my dad, well, Lynn helped me a lot, and anyway, they said, you gotta buck somebody off and have a fast show, but you gotta buck a few guys off, and he said, and that's good, you wanna have it over in 2 hours if you can. Well, now, that was before you had team roping,
Yeah.
and now you got breakaway,
Breakaway.
and I know. But
I know,
y'all may
it's a
be
pain.
breakaway world
So,
champions, I don't
yeah.
know, but it's 15 minutes, it adds
Right.
15 minutes to the rodeo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Some people, now some places it's good, and some places it's not, so,
Yeah.
anyway, but
What-
that's change, you know what I'm talking
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
And, but Las Vegas, you know, we always tried to have it, 2 hours, around 2 hours. And for bucking 15 head and all the timed events and everything, it's hard to do, Linda. These other
Oh,
rodeos
yeah.
don't do it.
Absolutely.
And that's why the people come, and then if you wanna make the 10 o'clock show, or whatever show, or
Right.
whatever hotel, you'll make it, see.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't realize that, and
Mhm.
they're pretty spoiled.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've helped spoil them, that's for
Mhm.
sure, Benny.
Yeah, it
Okay, so what other honors, what else was I gonna ask you? There was something else, you've been on the PRCA board for how many years?
I was on the NFRC for a couple of years, then when I moved out there and went to work for them, I got off of it, the NFRC board. And Howard Harris was on the board when they moved it. And he was on there, and he couldn't go back. He went back to New Jersey, and he sent me up there, and I just listened. You know, when I went up there, I didn't have a vote or anything. And they went down, and this was NFRC when they voted on it. And when they come to me, he said, how do you vote for Mr. Harrison? I said, I represent Mr. Harrison. He said no. And so I voted no, you know, when they done it. But then when the real board met, Atlanta went on for a day and a half. And anyway, they won it by one vote to move it to Las Vegas.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
But now you sit on the PRCA board, don't you?
No, I haven't been
I
on
was
the
thinking
board.
that you
I
were.
went, I was on the board for 15 years.
Yes.
And I was on the board for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I was chairman 3 years and everything. We didn't have all the problems they have now. People wanted you had problems, but you know, it's just, you know, lots of things going on right now.
Yeah.
Too many. And so I was on there, and I went off in 05. So anyway, but I've stayed on, and assistant manager like that. So they have me in there at those meetings all the time.
Yeah.
NFR, you know, the NFR.
Well, you had such a phenomenal NFR last year. My gosh, a bucking animal in all the bucking events won the NFR animal of, the whole, what is the term?
NFR buckets.
Yeah, bucking stock. Can you touch on your breeding program?
Sure.
Or just it may not be animals that you have raised, but it's animals that you
Well, that's what made it
see
so
the
good, Linda.
ability in.
That's what made it so good. We'd won it several times, and we'd won it, and Jiggs and Elra won it with Sam Bass in the early 70s, and Elra had won the first bull of the he won bull of the year, bull of the finals at Dallas on spec. So they'd won it, and then when we in '85, I won it with. That's when they moved it to Las Vegas, and I won the bull riding, bull of the year with Old Cowtown, and I split the bronc riding with Blowout with Calgary's horse, and so we won half, and they paid $10,000 a head. So I got I didn't think I'd never $10,000. That's the first time they gave an award for winning bull of the year and stuff. You got $10,000 for winning the horses and the bulls. and I got 5,000, so I got 15,000, and then they paid us $1,000 a head for each out, 25 cents a mile freight. That was the first year at Las Vegas, and I thought I never said that. Mr. Bennie got most of the bull check. So anyway, so down there, but anyway, that's where it started, and then we won it again. Let me think. Let's see, Challenger won it, '87, and then we won it again with. Rhett won it a couple times with the Bulls. I'm leaving something out, but we've won it several times.
Yeah.
But the icing on the cake, and then Killer B, you know,
Yes.
they all hated her, but I mean, she is the best horse we ever had. And anyway, and then it was last year when we won the Bareback of the Year and won the Bronc of the Year, Killer B and Gray Ghost, and then 212. I'll think of his name in a minute. Won it with the bull riding. We raised all three of them.
Oh,
So we
that's
raised
so
all three of them.
cool.
So we hadn't bought anything in we hadn't bought much. 3 or 4 horses the last 10 years. You know what I'm
Really?
talking about. So we raised all
Wow.
them.
Yeah.
Where those other horses, I bought them from other guys when they was, 4 or 5 years old before they matured and stuff like that. So that was, and I won it in '97. We won it in '97 with, we won the Bareback of the finals and won the Bull of the finals. But, we'd won that in '97. So, and that was a calf out of Cowtown and another horse we'd raised.
That's awesome.
So, but anyway,
Yeah.
so we get lucky once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah, over the
So
course
it was
of
good, but
time.
that was ice on the cake.
Oh,
that-
gosh,
That you
yeah.
raised them,
Mhm.
and it was ironic, that's when we retired Killer B.
Yeah.
So it was, and she's the best horse. Rhett, Jake may have one later on that's better than she was, but I'll never have a horse as good as Killer B.
Congratulations on
Well,
that.
thank you.
So what do you do with Killer B? Do you
She's
flush
bred.
embryos?
Dr. Veniclaus.
Okay.
Dr. Veniclaus. We got
Yeah.
an embryo out of her, and
Yeah.
she's out there. We
Mhm.
need to have a colt out of her, a live colt and stuff. She's out there. She's bred about 4 months. So
Yeah.
hopefully next spring she'll have one.
So she carries, you don't
Yeah.
flush embryos out of her and
No,
have her
we
sit
have
mares?
before.
Yeah.
We got a colt there at home, that'll be 2-year-old this spring that's out of her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully, but you don't ever know.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like Secretary, greatest horse he ever was. He wasn't a breeder. So anyway, and the thing about us, about Commotion, he is a stallion that got this horse line going and stuff. He is a breeder. We took over, we bucked him 10 years, retired him 10 years, and we bucked Killer B 10 years and retired her. And anyway, but the thing about Commotion, he is a breeder. We took 80-some, nearly, Rhett keeps track of it. Hell, I don't keep track of it. 90-some horses out of Commotion and over to the finals.
Golly,
So, I mean,
Biddy,
it's
that's phenomenal.
unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it's,
Yeah.
but over the years, there's been 90-some horses out of Commotion, over the last, so
That's
anyway, so
fantastic.
it's
Yeah.
been good. It's been good.
Yeah, so you got, just a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up. What was the award that you got recently? Wrangler Bullfight Award?
Wrangler Bullfight
What
of
was
the
that?
year.
Mhm.
It was down at Fort Worth, and they have a bullfighters only, and they give it to the guys that fought bulls, Skipper
Mhm.
Voss and those guys like that. And they gave it to me and Harriet had it. Sorry,
You're fine.
I should have turned it on. Justin Reffer must know I was in here. I ain't talked to him in a month, so, 'cause he knows what's going on,
He'll tell you
and he
a joke.
likes to screw you up.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's
Tell you
bullfighters
something.
only, and I won and we had 40 bulls,
Uh-huh.
or no, one time we had 50 bulls that we had on. That's all we do is fight bulls. Every rodeo we had 2 rodeos that didn't have a bullfight. We had 2 rodeos, and the rest of them we had a bullfight, and they remembered that, and they gave us an award for that,
That's
which is very
great.
nice of them.
Yes, absolutely. So congratulations on your award, and what does it mean to be inducted into this museum, Benny?
Well, to me, and I got to ask Brian Painter, and it wasn't, they opened this in '65, that's when John Wayne and them come over here and rode, and, but back in the '50s, and Brian Painter, he said he'd try to find it for me, and we got to get the historian, Mr. Gaylord called and is raising money to build this, and this was in the early '60s or what. They used to have a rodeo at Capitol Hill.
Mhm.
It's down there,
Yeah.
and it was a big rodeo, and Jake and Lynn had it, but they had it, and they was raising money when the idea come up with this, And I always thought Mr. Gaylord had come up with this idea. And anyway, that's what my dad and my granddad and all I'm saying. They knew, Jiggs and Lynn knew Mr. Gaylord really well. And they had a big parade raising money and stuff. And they brought a bunch of horses over here for the parade. And I don't know whether they kicked it off or what. I was 8 or 9 years old, and I come over here at the Elra, and I sat in the pickup, my paw, because I couldn't ride. But they had raise money, and that, I think that was when they had the rodeo at Capitol Hill. And anyway, but they was talking about building a Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I said it wasn't, because when they opened it, I said, no, this is way before they roped it, because I won't ever forget it. Because Elra and Jiggs, when they was rodeoing, they had 12, 14 white horses. And they had a quadrille with white horses, and they're entertaining and everything else. They had them old white horses, because I was 9 or 10, I had to wash them and got a name. And you'd look up, you'd wash them. Me and Ron Canancer, we'd be washing them. He was a pickup man to work for us and stuff. And we'd look up, the ones we had started with, they'd rub the bridle off, and they'd be out there rolling in the mud. So anyway, and then Lynn had a bunch of yellow horses, and they took all the horses over here and rode the parade. And Brian's going to find out for me.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I remember them talking about that in the Hall of Fame and what they've done and with the people they've got over here and stuff like that. It's one of the best honors I've ever received.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Connie, she said, you always chew everybody out. Said they'll probably put you in. We didn't ever think we'd get in there. Said as many guys as you chewed out at bucket shoots and stuff, hell, they ain't gonna vote for you. Said they'll put you in there when you die, and that's what I figured would happen. So anyway, so
I'm glad you made
that's
it before
well,
you
yeah, I
died.
am too. But that's what Connie always said. Said they ain't gonna vote for you. You chew too many people out and tell them what they don't want to hear. And I said, well, whatever. I said that's the way I am. So thank y'all. I know y'all had a big part of it. So thank y'all.
Congratulations.
So, well, glad to be a part of it. Thank
All
you.
right.